Greetings, nerds. This is Scene and Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont. With me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Paul. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. How are you doing this evening?
I am good. I am fresh. I had an issue this morning. Okay.
Oh, okay.
As you know, the Bravo Super Bowl occurred last night, and I'm on delay. I'm on delay with my Vanderpump Rules watching. For all of you who are listening and don't know the connection, but we're talking about Vanderpump Rules season finale, which wasn't going to be the finale until all of this shit came out about the scandal.
Yeah.
And then that happened, and 2 days later they picked up cameras and filmed for about two weeks, and that is what aired last night. So I get up this morning and I'm like, I've been watching Vanderpump in the mornings before I go to work while I'm eating my breakfast. And I go to Amazon, and my season pass has not been updated.
Oh, no.
And I had a panic for about 5 minutes, and then I was just like, you know what? I bet it's on Apple.
Yeah.
So yes, I already have a season pass. This should be a free episode of TV for me, or an episode I already paid for. But I put down another $3.
You can't miss the scandal.
I'm tired of dodging. It's not even I can't miss it. Like it's streaming. It's always going to be there.
Yeah.
But I can't keep dodging the TikToks.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
That's what I meant by you can't miss it, because, I mean, hell, it was, I was stranded in Charlotte Douglas Airport last night, and it was like trend. It was like number 2 trends of like in the country. I think the only thing on top of was like the basketball game, the scandal. Hashtag scandal. Yeah, pump rules. You know.
Which the only reason why the basketball got views is because a lot of people, I think, were like me going into this finale, being like, we already know what happens. They've teased the shit out of this finale. Yeah. I've listened to so many podcasts with cast members talking about the finale, alluding to it. And in retrospect, it was about what I expected, but there were some conversations and interactions that still just make you sit and think, wow. And you're on TV and saying this stuff. Like, it's one thing to be an asshole in real life. But to know perfectly well there is a camera in front of you recording this to be broadcasted.
Yeah.
So the whole world can see, and you're still going to behave in this manner?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're still going to try to sell this idea. It's okay that I cheated on my girlfriend of 9 years, who I bought a home with and have lived with. But I cheated on her, and it's okay because I was going to break up with her like 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Like, she stopped having sex with me 4 years ago. It's like, do you hear what's coming out of your mouth? And then the girl, Rachel, who he slept with, is saying, well, I just wanted to know what it felt like to have sex with someone who I really loved. And you're just like, but so the fact that there's this girl called Ariana who you're friends with, so the fact that girl is living with this guy who you love, like, that didn't factor into this equation. Like, I don't know. It's just, I'm still think that the true finale is always the reunion, and we get 3 episodes of the reunion, and Andy Cohen keeps telling us, just wait until the reunion, it gets worse. And we're like, does it? Can it? Can people? And after watching the finale, yeah.
Yeah, it can get worse.
Because I think what gets worse, it's not the actions, it's the reaction. It's this is how I'm going to quote unquote explain what I did and give these, and you're just, and yet you're listening to the excuse or the justification, and it's not adding up. And there's been time to, like, you can have a PR person tell you, like, yeah, that's not the best move.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just crazy to me. But yeah. So I had a setback. I figured it out. I got it done. And every now and then while I was at work today, I thought about it and I was like, geez, man, I can't wait to watch that again. I can't wait
So,
for the reunions.
yeah, I can yeah, well, like I said, I lived this show vicariously through you, and now it's like, and I've always, like, as I mentioned before, I've always seen Pump Rules and everything like that trending, and it's kind of, you can't be on the internet or on social media and not know what it's about, but living this show vicariously through you now, it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna be watching the reunion just because I don't want to be like, having a big case of FOMO.
Yeah, yeah. I think for anybody who's just like, I'm late to the party, just get on with the reunion. They always show flashbacks to the highlights of the season. Like, you don't necessarily have to watch the season,
Mhm.
but that reunion, when people actually get a chance to confront each other, granted, because of the temporary restraining order,
Mhm.
they're gonna, like, Rachel and Sheena have to be on at different times.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
whole thing. So, but yeah, it's watch the reunion if you like Will said, if you're feeling some FOMO. Very curious. Like, I almost just want to fast forward the next few months just to understand what this show looks like now in its 11th season.
Hmm.
I heard it got renewed, but
It did.
nobody has confirmed about contracts with these cast members. And there's a line in the sand. Like, there is a line that Ariane has drawn that's like, if you're friends with them, you're not friends with me. So we'll see. And I also heard some cast members, old cast members, might be coming back to kind of fill the quote unquote void.
Mm.
But I don't know. I don't know. The other, something else. I tried, like, Will prepared this rundown and he didn't realize I was going to hijack the show.
Oh,
Um,
that's fine.
so
Well, hijack
that
away,
might
hijack away.
because, like, nothing happened this week.
A few things happen. I mean,
Not really. Writers
but
are on
not really.
strike.
Things
They're
that
going to
neither
be on
one of
strike
us.
forever.
Yeah, they're gonna be on strike. I mean, the movie festival is going on, but I mean, yeah, it's just like, nothing really. There's a lot of stuff I saw about it, but nothing that really, like, struck my fancy to put it on the
Yeah.
rundown. So yeah, so I was just basically waiting for the CW Upfronts to announce about it.
Yeah, and still no final word on the fate of Superman and Lois.
No final word. But interestingly enough, the head of the network, the new head of the network, did again just sort of double down on what we talked about last week, which is, Superman and Lois is a very expensive show. They don't have the rights to the library because that's over on HBO Max. And so the show's really not making any money for them, so they really don't have a big incentive to renew it at this point.
Right.
So, if they do renew it, maybe they'll renew it, as a mid-season replacement in 2024. But, interestingly enough, they did in their sizzle reel for the acquired shows and things that they have created for the CW, for the 23-24 season. They did include Superman and Lois in the sizzle reel, so there is a glimmer of hope. But at this point, it would not surprise me if we get word sooner rather than later, to quote the president of the network, that the show's been canceled. Oh,
Um, it's just on top of the Superman news or the Superman and Lois discussion. Um, I did see the article about Rachel Brosnahan possibly being cast as Lois in the new Superman movie.
Yeah, that was hit over this past weekend. I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
yes, yeah. So there was
Why?
like competing articles and tweets between the Hollywood Reporter and Deadline about the scoops, and James Gunn basically was throwing all cold water on all of it, saying I ain't talking about
Right.
anyone. Yeah,
Well,
and the only person that's been cast is one person, and we know that, and that's Jason Momoa. So
um,
yeah.
for those of you who don't recognize the name Rachel Brosnahan, she's the star of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. She's been on House of Cards way back in like the first season and done a few other things, but mainly Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is where people know her from. I have been watching the last and final season of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Will, you
Hmm.
got off the train at the right time. You
Oh,
got
good.
off the train at the right time. This season is awful.
Huh.
There's one episode, I want to say like 2 episodes ago, I fast forward through 80% of it because I was like, I don't care about this at all. This is such a weird episode to throw in this final season. Um, we're not seeing very much stand up from her this
Mm,
season. We're seeing just a lot of, they're doing something interesting with time.
huh.
Um, and kind of showing where the characters are now versus maybe 30 years in the future and what has changed, and then there's some mystery, and then it's about unpacking what went down in the past to align with where the characters are in the future.
Okay.
But but like I said, the reason why I fell in love with this show besides Lenny is because her stand up. The first season, I want to say a
Yeah.
good 5 or 6 episodes, always ended with a stand up routine.
Yeah.
And I'm racking my brain. I can't think of a single episode so far where we've had a clear stand up routine from her.
It's,
Or even
uh,
Lenny. So
that's
like
yeah.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
disappointing. I mean, we haven't started it yet, but it's one of those ones where we're both like, we need to start that. But it's just, yeah, it's sort of like The Crown. It's like we'll get back to it whenever we get back to it.
yeah, the last season of The Crown didn't
But
really hit for me the way the fourth season,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Fourth
but
season was the one where they first introduced young Diana, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah, but
but
yeah,
yeah.
interested about Rachel because I know she was on was it The View this week, and she was asked about the articles from the weekend, and I think she was like, she didn't. She had a very interesting answer if I recall. I just saw a clip where she was like, "Oh, that would be love the idea of Lois and the character and all," but of course she didn't really confirm or deny the whether or not she's sent out, a tape in or anything like that, as far as being, but apparently, according to the articles, her audition, she killed it. So,
Oh, I have no doubt. The moment
yeah,
I heard that, I was
yeah,
like, that makes sense. That
yeah,
adds up. I can totally see, especially after following Amy Adams
hmm
on the big screen at least. It makes sense. I mean, she has this way where between Amy Adams and I forget her last name, but Bitsy
it's
on
Tulloch.
yeah,
Yeah.
on Superman and Lois. I think she's like the middle between those two.
Hmm.
And could be a really standout Lois. Well, granted, I mean, yes, you have to be good at the casting, like get that person in the right ship. But if you don't give them a good script, then whatever. But we know James Gunn is writing it. Love
Yeah,
him. So
yeah,
yeah, and
yeah,
hopefully they also are casting for chemistry though, because
yeah. That's an
she
important little.
yeah, very important.
Yeah, Clark.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, whoever. Yeah, I know. I know as far as some of the other actresses that were named in the articles, like Emma Mackey, Phoebe Devner, and Samara Weaving. Any thoughts about them?
Who? Samara Weaving, I know, but who's the other one?
Emma Mackey. I think she was in.
She the
Oh gosh, I'm looking at the article now. Let me pull it up here. She was in Sex Education.
yes, she's who's the person that she looks like?
Oh
Who?
gosh, I haven't watched
She's
that
in
show in
Barbie.
forever.
She's in Barbie.
Oh yeah, she's also in Barbie. Yep, yeah,
She's
yeah,
Margot Robbie lookalike. Yeah. As soon as you
yeah,
said Emma, I was like, but I couldn't think of the name for some reason. I was thinking Love Struck, but I think that's a different Netflix show.
yeah,
So, yeah, but
yeah.
yeah,
But yeah,
um,
which tracks with people because I know if given that James is really adores Margot Robbie and given that she would be a doppelganger for her, that I could see that.
okay, so this is
As,
going to be a weird answer.
yeah.
It will depend on, I can see any three of those actresses play Lois,
Hmm.
but the right Lois will depend on who gets cast as Superman.
True.
Because age-wise, not to
Yeah.
say that any of these women are old. I think Samara and Rachel are probably the closest in age.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but but yeah, like Emma leans more on the younger side. Um,
Right.
so yeah, we'll see. But I mean, those choices to me, it sounds like they have a very clear idea of who they want, like
Hmm.
an archetype. It's not like these crazy names that feel a bit like out of place, but I think it's a good thing that these names are very interchangeable. Like any three of them, I think
Yeah.
could probably bring relative the same thing to the character. It'll depend on who they cast opposite as Superman and how much chemistry
Right.
those two actors can
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. And to your point about Rachel being a known name, Emma Mackey also now with Barbie. If they decide to go with casting an unknown for Clark or a relative unknown for Clark, like Christopher Reeve was whenever he was cast in the Superman the movie, you could sort of have Rachel play sort of the Gene Hackman role of a named actor, Marlon Brando, having that named person that people are familiar with to sort of anchor it. So then that gives them a little bit more flexibility to, maybe hire, cast someone who was an up and comer like Christopher Reeve was back in the day,
Yeah,
um, as
I
Clark.
I don't think Rachel's as known as you think she is. I don't
Oh,
actually those three in particular, even Emma with Barbie. I don't think those
I think
three are
I think
well known.
Rachel's I think pretty well known. I mean, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is definitely a cooler show. That
Okay.
so I think more people know who she is than you would suspect.
Yeah, I mean, I just yeah, I'm just gonna. You can say that more people know than I would expect, and I'll say I think you're overestimating just a little bit because I don't think Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is that big. I think it was a few years ago,
Mhm.
but I don't think it is as prevalent as it is now.
True.
Um, but speaking about Barbie,
Yeah.
because that movie is coming out on July 21st. Everyone listening, just word of mouth. We have a rundown. We are not going by the order. So
Nope.
this is very stream of consciousness conversation right now. But um I was typing out like I saw on July 21st. I think it's July 21st.
It is.
Um Barbie's coming out. And then I was like, oh wait, Oppenheimer's coming out that same day. That
It is.
cross counter marketing move. It
Yep.
just, I don't know. Every now and then I find something out like that and I'm like, okay, this is a business, everyone. But yeah, which um Barbie, I didn't get it even after watching that trailer.
Hmm.
And then somebody pointed out this is gonna be Elf.
Mm.
And I was like, that makes sense. That's what they're doing. Okay, I get it now. And shout out to whoever edited the trailer because I did not get that vibe from the trailer. It
I
left
didn't.
me with more questions. But
Yeah.
when you think about knowing they have shot these two Barbie and Ken in the quote unquote real world, and then comparing it to Elf, you're like, okay, pieces are coming together. Um, I still would probably see Oppenheimer over it just
Oh yeah.
because you know my love for Nolan.
Oh
So
yeah. Same. I've already like book bookmarked that weekend. Oppenheimer first, Barbie second. As far if I catch Barbie, maybe that next the following weekend. But yeah, the Oppenheimer, which I know there was a few weeks ago. There was like rumors out there that Oppenheimer was going to get bumped to later in the year, but they like nope, we're locked into July 21st, and saw the second trailer, I guess the second or extended trailer right before Guardians of the Galaxy,
yeah.
and it was before it hit YouTube and general release, and it got more about the story, because we had, obviously we had the general, with the explosion and all that stuff in the prior trailer, but really get into the story and fleshing out some of Matt Damon's characters, more about Oppenheimer herself, and I was just like, this movie, okay, go ahead and line up best supporting actor, best picture, best director, because this thing is just going to be it's a master. It looks like it's going to be a masterpiece of filmmaking.
Yeah, I think it's gonna do what Dunkirk did.
Mm,
But so I actually disagree. I don't think I'm not gonna be surprised if come awards season this movie is actually forgotten about.
nah, yeah,
Now,
I feel like yeah.
granted, um, everything everywhere all at once got a lot of awards, and it was also summer. So maybe that has changed.
Yeah.
Because as much as I love Nolan films, I think because he's always dead set on a July release date for some
Hmm.
reason,
Hmm.
he often like will get forgotten about when it comes, except for sound editing and sound mixing, which he
True.
always seems to get.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see, but because there's a bunch of movies I'm sure that are just gonna pop up, and then when you think somebody's gonna get it, somebody else does. So
Yeah. Yeah.
they always seem to sneak their way in there.
True. True. Yeah. You're right. That is a fair point. Fair point. But it definitely will be. It may end up being one of those films that has a lot of momentum at the front end, and like you said, it peters out when the boat time actually does happen. But or it may just or it could be like Everything Everywhere All at Once, where well, I guess that Everything Everywhere was one of those like it hit, and it was I think it was just so different of a film last year that it just stood out from the rest of the pack. And I guess Oppenheimer does sort of fall back into the traditional things that you think of as far as like Oscar nominated films.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a history biography piece.
Yeah.
So on one end, that leans heavily towards Oscars. On
Mm.
the other hand, um, it also just is like you gotta really do something different.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I don't know. I
And
don't.
that's what I got, and that's what I kind of got from the trailer because I thought it was going to be your straight biographical piece, and it definitely seemed to be a little bit more than that. So
Have you seen Dunkirk?
I have not.
Watch Dunkirk, Will,
Okay, okay,
because that because I've seen it twice at least.
okay,
I saw it in theaters. Um, and so I have an idea of what Nolan is likely to do with Oppenheimer. That's
okay,
all I'll say. But
okay.
yeah, yeah.
I'll check it out. I'll check it out. Yeah,
For those
yeah,
who are like Will and haven't watched, because I think that's his only film that's technically history based.
hmm
So out of all of them, so if you are interested in Oppenheimer and you haven't seen Dunkirk, I recommend that movie out of all of Nolan's movies to see before, not because they have anything to do with each other,
yeah,
but just because to get an idea of how someone who made Interstellar, Dark Knight, and Tenet would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna do a biography." Okay, well, I thought you leaned heavily into science fiction. Well, he is very creative, so.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, a lot of these movies, we were going to do a whole discussion about summer movies. Looking at it though, I don't know how many times we've talked about Spider-Man Across the
Yep,
Spider-Verse,
yep,
looking very forward to it.
yep.
Bill is making me see The Flash, and I'm surprised you're not making me see it twice. But I do at least have to sit through it once. You're not making me go see Indiana Jones 4.
Yeah, yeah. It debuted today at the Cannes Film Festival. Apparently, they did have a very emotional like ceremony for Harrison Ford right before it started, but then after the film was over, apparently it's getting mixed reviews. Right, but prior to recording, I just happened to check the tomato meter, and it was at 50%.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'm not surprised based off of the
yeah,
trailers. The
yeah,
trailers, I I get a sense that it's probably better than the fourth movie that no one
mm,
talks about,
yeah,
but I don't think it's a true like return to the classic trilogy.
yeah, yeah. Some of the early things I've seen, yeah, it's just like it's a nostalgia piece, not very, and not very thrilling, and and it's hard to do adventure, and really it is kind of a relic of the 80s, 90s films making, and that may just not resonate with audiences today. So
Well, it's funny because you say it's hard to do adventure. They did three great adventures.
yes, but that was like 40 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, but my point is they've done it. It's
Yeah,
hard to, I think, with any franchise, to maintain consistency
oh,
and just be like, we did it.
yeah. No,
Why
in
do
all
we have
seriousness,
to keep doing it? I mean,
yeah,
not everyone can be Fast and the Furious,
or Mission Impossible.
which, yeah, I didn't even, okay, I didn't know, first of all, that a dead reckoning was coming.
Mhm.
I kind of black out whenever Tom Cruise news comes up where I just like I see it and then I instantly forget about it. But then I also noticed on the title it's Dead Reckoning Part One.
Yep.
A part one. You know what this reminds me of? I don't know if you saw this because Fast and Furious is one of your like big black holes in
Totally. Yep.
cinema.
Yep.
But there apparently was a Vin Diesel interview recently where he's like, yes, Fast 10 is the first of a trilogy.
Oh, oh, I think. Oh, uh,
I
well,
love that reaction.
yeah. I have no words, y'all. I mean, okay.
It's never going to end.
It's
And,
not. It's like
and
Mission. It's like Mission Impossible. Tom Cruise is going to be 90 like Shatner and like still jumping off of cliffs.
yeah, yeah. It is fun. Double Toasted. They watched the first one
hmm
recently.
hmm
And I listened to like a good 20 minutes, and then I had to do something. So I'm going to finish it eventually, but it is funny to hear them talk because I remember when the first one came out, I remember being obsessed with it and being
Mm,
obsessed with Letty. I don't ever remember watching the second one. I don't
y-
remember watching the third one.
mm.
And then I remember randomly watching the fourth one and skipping the fifth. Like, I have such a weird relationship with the Fast and Furious franchise where I'm like in it and I'm out. I'm in it and then I'm out.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's I just like this whole Dead Reckoning part one reminds me so much of that comment. I mean, at least Tom Cruise is being honest. He's like,
Yeah.
guys, this is never ending
Yeah.
to the point where this is going to be a part one, even though it's like the fifth movie or sixth movie in this franchise. Okay,
Yeah. Seventh.
you're seventh. My God.
Yeah.
Um,
And I have seen every one of them, and other than two, I've enjoyed them all.
my God.
So I have a black hole for Fast and the Furious, but Mission Impossible, I'm all there.
And James Bond.
And James Bond, that's correct.
See, that's why Mission Impossible does not surprise me with you
Yeah.
because James Bond, Mission Impossible, very similar in terms of genre.
Yeah.
You not being a fan of Fast and Furious, it means you're just a normal person who has like it, yeah, I totally understand that as well.
Mm.
Um, this the same people and okay, I'm generalizing and this whole but I'm just gonna say it.
Go ahead.
9 times out of 10, if you're a Fast and Furious fan, you probably have watched Venom and Carnage
Mm.
multiple times, and you're probably a fan of the Transformers movies. You,
Yeah.
aka, love a bad action movie, and that's okay.
Yeah.
There's a market for it, clearly. So that's perfectly fine. Just allow me to make fun of it.
That's right. We are a non-judging space here. You know, it's art, it's objective. So whatever you like, hey, I'm sure we've probably gotten lots of snickers from people laughing at things we like. So it's equal. Everybody has their thing.
Yeah, yeah. I watch. I get very critical about scripted television, and yet
Mm.
I can go down the deep end of this reality content. No one else.
Exactly. It's at the top of our show. Perfect example.
Scripted versus unscripted, very different critical viewing lens. Okay. And the last one is a movie that I honestly forgot was coming out. I'll probably forget at least 3 more times before it actually comes out on August 18th, but that is Blue Beetle.
Yep.
Um, so my question,
Mhm.
and this leads into what I wanted to talk about like 20 minutes ago, but what the heck, Will? We're going to be scrapping. You might end up seeing Fast 10. No, probably not because it's coming out now. If Fast 10 was coming out in August, I may force you and myself to go see Fast 10.
Yeah.
Because man, I'm just I am we're going to get a few weeks
Mhm.
here like it's bam 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 and then nothing.
Yeah. Thankfully, we do have one thing that will help us at least carry us through June and end of
Secret
June and July.
Invasion.
Yes.
Yeah, which it will, but this is also a MCU Disney Plus show, which
Yeah.
hit and miss. They've been hit and miss with us, and I'm very grateful for the MCU Disney shows because of this. Like the summer movie season hasn't like completely come back to what it was pre-pandemic.
Right. Right.
Um, but that'll end like in how many episodes is it?
What is it? 6 or 8?
Six. Yeah, I was thinking that's why I asked.
Yeah. Yeah. I should know that off the top. I mean, usually they have 6 episodes, but this one, may actually be more. Let me quickly look. I should know
Yeah.
off the top of my head, but I don't because it's just so like happen. It's so all over the place. With
Yeah, yeah, you never know, and then somebody's like, "Oh, we're gonna add two more." But even with Secret Invasion,
yeah, 6 episodes. Yeah, so I was right. Yeah.
yeah, even with Secret Invasion, we finally got confirmation that Loki season two isn't gonna happen until October.
Hmm.
And then on top of that, we don't get Echo until the end of November.
Yep.
So, and I'm just like,
And,
okay,
and the thing with Echo, they're dropping all 6 episodes at once,
yeah.
which
We
which
might break that up, but yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, which is very interesting. There's a couple things to that. One with this we're seeing the slowdown of MCU content because originally originally we were supposed to have Agatha and Ironheart and everything else like this year too, but then Iger was like, no, 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 no. We gotta give stuff time to breathe and also try to get the specialness. I mean, this is Will talking, not Iger, but yeah, I think part of it too is just trying to get the specialness back to the franchise because it's just if you just keep just churning stuff out, the quality is diminished. The event nature of it is completely gone, and so I think it's smart for them to do that. Getting to Echo, um, it for them, I guess there's two ways you could look at it. One, they're just, it's a low risk character that they could just drop all 6 episodes, try the Netflix model out, see if that works, or it's just so bad that they just want to just get it out there, let people see Daredevil and Kingpin, which I believe they're supposed to be in one episode of Echo, and just get it out, get it done, and move on because they just don't want people talking about it week to week.
Have they shot any of Ironheart or Agatha?
I believe they're in production now.
But they haven't shot anything.
I think they're filming now. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, they're filming. Okay.
they're filming now for 2024 releases
Yeah.
each. Yeah,
I'll be very curious about the reaction to especially Agatha, just because to your point about it allows for specialness.
mm,
It was a long time ago. It's been a while since we saw WandaVision.
that's true. Yeah.
And yeah, at the time, Agatha was a big deal. It was Agatha all along, big
Hmm.
deal.
Hmm.
Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag.
Yeah.
The longer this goes, I'm like, who's Agatha again? Why do we care? Like,
Yeah.
what? So I just sometimes it makes sense, like when you're dealing with characters you've already previewed, to not have giant gaps, especially when you're in lieu of all of these other characters you're juggling, like people forget,
Hmm.
or it's just like too much time has gone by. We don't care anymore.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious about that, and it's also interesting because um, to your point about Echo, how we got WandaVision. WandaVision was the first one out of the gate, and we didn't get Hawkeye until like way later last
Hmm.
year. So, but we're getting Echo way before Agatha. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I but on top of that, like even with Secret Invasion, we got a few things coming from the MCU in the later part of this year. What is everybody watching this summer? Like, I mean, the movies are here and there, and then we got Secret Invasion, but is there anything else we're missing? I
Oh,
feel like there should be at least two other things going on.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, between even before the writer's strike. I mean, I know for me personally, I'll have Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, which
Yeah.
premieres June 15th. So I'll have that to like hold me over as far as like not as far as shows this summer. and that's another 10-week thing. But yeah, like Stranger Things delayed. The Boys aren't come. I don't think their release date has not come out. But now I know there's the Boys spinoff, Vault U, but I think that's maybe in August. So yeah, so there's still going to be some time in June and
Ha-
July that
Has
that
has the boys finished filming their
yeah
season?
they've wrapped. Yeah, they've
Okay.
wrapped.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, the boys don't usually come out until like September.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
And I think Kripke noted that. Yeah, so I think their spinoff show is going to start late summer. I think
okay.
since yeah, and to sort of coincide with the start of fall semester in colleges and stuff. And then I know we have Ashoka also coming late summer. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That was the other thing I was missing. I'm like, usually when we get an MCU thing going on, there's a Star Wars thing going on, and why those can't be spaced differently is beyond me. I'm
Mhm,
like, Disney Plus, you just need one of those shows. Like, this is why you're not making money. When you
mhm.
don't have an MCU show going on to get your subscriptions, that's when you have a Star Wars show to get most of those subscriptions back.
Right.
Like,
And that was yeah,
why have them go simultaneously? Like, then you just turn off your subscription when both of them are done. I
yeah,
don't get
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just a little worried because I'm already struggling, Will. We've had many talks about this, about my like I don't know what to call it. Just my indifferentness to what I'm watching on TV these days.
Yeah.
And this weekend in particular, I struggled. I jumped from I tried because I'd seen trailers for it and I was like, that could be good, but I tried watching um Class of '09 on FX.
Hmm.
It's have you heard of this?
I have not.
Okay, it's Brian Henry Tyler
Okay.
and Kate Mara, and it's about FBI.
Okay.
And going into it just looks like, oh, someone's killing people from this class of FBI agents, and it's about uncovering why. Within like the first episode, and it just started a few weeks ago, so there's only I think 2 episodes online, maybe 3 now. I got through maybe one and a half, and then it just got boring. But this is basically Minority Report.
Hmm.
It is all about trying to protect the world by predicting crime, and they do a weird thing with time where they are actually telling the story from 3 different points of reference. So you have what's going on in when they're first all inducted into this class. And then you have the past, and then you have what's going on in current day, and then you have the future.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's so
Uh,
boring.
yeah, that is such a derivative show of Minority Report. I
Thank you.
mean,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
And
So
it's I mean, it's just they're not interesting characters, and the moment you realize what's going on, you're just like, I've seen this movie, literally. I don't
which is unfortunate because Brian Tyree Henry's a really good actor, and I just hate to see him like, yeah,
I think he's a good actor when he's given good material because I
period.
also
Yeah.
tried to watch Causeway,
Mhm.
Cast
Yeah.
that Jennifer Lawrence and his movie, and I still haven't finished it. I'm like 20 minutes away. It's so boring.
Yeah.
He's just not
Yeah.
he's not picking the right scripts.
I
Not
think
picking.
so. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. He
I
needs another season of Atlanta to happen.
right. So I started there. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe it's just because I need a good K-drama, you know?
Mhm.
And I saw some trailers for oh my God, what is it? It's like Night Watch or something. I forget what the title of it is called now. I used to know like 5 minutes ago. Um Night Dark Night, whatever. This is gonna bother me, so hold on. Let me just check real
Yeah.
quick.
Yep.
This
No
is all
worries.
his fault. Sometimes when he interrupts me, I lose my train of thought. Black Knight.
Okay.
Okay. I tried watching this. I actually got far. I think it's 6 episodes. I think I made it through 3.5.
Hmm.
And then it got to a point where I was like, I really don't care about any of these characters. The main character is really hot. However, I don't care about anything that's going on. And there's not even a good romance plot. So I was like, checked out. And I finally was like, gave in and like, okay, I'm putting on Bridgerton, Queen Charlotte, let's go. 2 days, all 6 episodes done, easy binge. Great show. Not a great show. It's Shonda Rhimes, okay? I know I'm a Grey's Anatomy OG, Will.
I know you are.
I started Grey's and I fell off like season 6. Sure. I used to collect the DVD sets. I used to watch it all the time, and then I fell off and intermittently came back in. Haven't watched it for at least 4 years. But Bridgerton, I have watched the first 2 seasons because it's just easy. It's just easy. I don't have to care about all the characters. I don't have to care about anything that's going on. It's just an easy binge. This one surprised me, and I'm kind of disappointed that it wasn't like 12 episodes.
Hmm.
I think they did good with the stories. They told technically 3 stories, 2 of which I didn't even know like we needed.
Hmm.
Um, and it's not about like young love technically. Actually, it's about technically 2 widowers
Hmm.
or widows and a queen who has a very tragic love story.
Okay.
Um, and just about their resiliency and how you have this idea of love, and then it takes a curveball, and then what that means for a woman in like the 1600s.
Hmm.
So it's Shonda Rhimes. She has a way. She has a way to tell a story from the female perspective that is very good, and I find very, very like a good light read, if you will.
Got it.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but still like patterns of like I want to say resonance, but that's not the right word. But like every now and then a real deep thought
Hmm.
amidst all of the all of the stuff. So yeah, I ended on that. So we'll see. I'm trying things. Nothing's sticking these days.
Yeah.
I don't
It's
even feel like
hard.
it trailers anymore, even though I hate trailers because they give away everything. But I guess I have commitment issues too because I feel like every other show is getting canceled.
Yeah. That's
Like,
that
that's
that's
hard.
yeah, that's another hard thing too. I know, as we were discussing earlier about Superman and Lois, it's like part of the reason why I've been, even though I've been seeing a lot of folks in our space saying really good things about Gotham Knights, even though the trailers look bad, but it sounds like it's actually a halfway decent show. But I'm afraid to like start it because I just know that it's more likely than not going to get canceled.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
and
I don't
yeah,
want to.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
we've had our heart broken so many times that when you don't get on the train when it first takes off, it's really hard to get on it after the fact.
hmm
It almost takes like, but was it renewed for a second season?
yeah,
Maybe.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So let's talk about The Flash because
Yep,
we both watched it.
yep. Main topic after.
Um, to me, we already had our main topic.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
Okay.
this was a fine episode. I'm not going to repeat myself from last week. I have all of the same complaints
Yeah,
essentially. Um, I just I don't.
yeah. But yeah. I mean, I'm there with you. It's as far as the quibbles, I mean, it's if anybody's listened to us before, we're talking about the Flash or the recent seasons we've talked about the side characters and stuff, and the problems that we had with it. Even though, the only new quibble I will just add that if you're going to do an episode where they're going 20 plus years in the future, make a little effort to, at least from a production standpoint, make the characters other than the female lead look older. I mean, Cecile's probably older than Iris, and she was like looking younger. Black don't crack, but come on, really. So there was that piece, but story wise, I was wondering how they were going to explain where Eddie came back, and I was thinking with the whole 2049 thing, it's like I must have missed something somewhere along the way. I don't know if, like, when they first introduced the cobalt blue crystal at the end of, I guess that was the end of last season. Did they say it was 2049? Because I know when I watched the first episode when we first saw Malcolm, Eddie, I didn't put it together that was actually in the future. So, I finally did pick that up last week, but forgot to mention it while we were watching, while we were discussing the show. But that being said, I do like the bookend that they had with the end of the first season with Eddie sacrificing himself, and now having him come back. I mean, it was one of those stories loose ends that they set up years ago that I was hoping they would follow up on. And I honestly, I hate that they waited till, we don't really see the full cobalt blue everything until the finale. I really felt like it would have been nice to see that arc, or see that arc really maybe unrolled in the second episode of the Final Four. But it is what it is, because I just feel like next week is going to be overstuffed.
Well, I think it'll be understuffed, but watching this episode, all I could think was like, they could have done so much more. Mm-hmm. They have such a good foundation here.
Yeah.
I see exactly what they were doing throughout the entire episode. I was like, okay, why are we still thinking he's going to make the right choice?
Yeah.
To me, I'm just like, Barry, you've been at this how many years now, and you're still falling for this shit? But yeah, I think this is an arc that was honestly meant to be told much longer than a 4-part series, and featured more heavily. You could have done a lot more, have a much more organic buildup of him wanting to make that other choice.
Yeah.
Especially, there's so much reminders. There's, for the last 2 episodes, this one in particular, of the sacrifice he made in the first season, that even though that was like 8 years ago from a viewer perspective, you're reminded about it so much. You're like, and yet you're still the same person? Like, and then you're convinced, even though, like, what's really going on here, it's just it's a change we also coming, and it's a very, like, okay, it's not as organic as I think it could have been.
Yeah.
The actor did an amazing job with what was given. Further proves it could have been stretched out much longer. It also would have made a great season 5 arc. Like, one hand, you're telling it way too late in the story, way too late in the season, much less way too late in the series as a whole. But I do agree with you. Like, it's really clever to, and yes, I know I used the word clever in relation to The Flash season 9. I know, shock. But it is clever to pull in that thread all the way back from the season 1 finale to the series finale, which, do I think the season 1 finale will remain the best finale in all of Flash? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I have no.
Yeah.
They,
Yeah. I should have just.
maybe they'll be better than the season 2 finale. I don't know. But yeah, it's I had some very similar thoughts with you about this episode, and I'm just glad we're wrapping it up.
Yeah.
We're putting a bow on it.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. I mean, the other thing too, just another quibble. It is, and I feel like I'm picking on Cecile, but it gets to the larger point of like the threat. And maybe if they had more time, if they had, as we were discussing here, really had fleshed the story out more, it, it just seems that the negative Speed Force motivations and and maybe it's just because it's just the way that they've utilized these forces over the last few seasons. It doesn't seem like evil or threatening enough that if that there may be just a disproportionate power level that Cecile had in dispatching Nora in the episode whenever she was possessed by the crystal. It's like, well, she can. It's sort of like the Keon problem they had last week, where it's like all of a sudden you have these overpowered superheroes, except for Barry, who can defeat the 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 big bad. So it's just sort of like it's just those internal inconsistencies of other people in the show being overpowered against Barry's enemies that it's like, well, why do we even need Barry around? Because
Well,
clearly, clearly these other folks can take care of this thing. Yeah, yeah. It was just one of those. It was just one. It just took away from the episode for me that if they had really focused on the Eddie, Cobalt, Barry, and have these other folks there in a supporting role, not in the bailing Barry out role.
yeah, yeah. Threat, stake.
Yeah, yeah, I'm trying. Again, it's just like
I think to me, maybe that's why it didn't bother me because I've already like checked out of that. If I
yeah,
can follow a decent character like moment,
hmm
I don't know. I it didn't stand out to me because I think maybe that was a quibble I had with the show in season 5, and
yeah, yeah.
it hasn't gotten better. It's probably gotten worse.
It's gotten worse. Yeah,
And the stakes, like, it's just anytime not Caitlin opens her mouth, I just lose. I'm like, oh yeah, we're in imaginary land. There are no stakes. None of this matters. They're all gonna live at the end of the day. Like,
yeah,
it's sad. It really is because I mean, you expect that with this genre, but for those of us who have been watching the show since season 1, we know what it could be. And to
hmm
see where it is,
yeah,
it's heartbreaking.
yeah.
And um,
Speaking of
it,
that harp, yeah,
yeah.
go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
Well, and I know where you're gonna go.
Yeah, yeah. No, go ahead. Finish your thought. I did. Yeah,
Could we maybe save that actually for next week when we talk about the series finale?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's save the Entertainment Weekly article for then, because I did watch. Yeah, it. But for folks who haven't read it, I just kind of tease it out there. Did post it on our socials. Very good article. We'll discuss next week about the Flash, and there is a spoiler about one particular character that many people have been wondering about. And I'll just leave it there.
Okay. Well, I know one person is going to be surprised because I, A, did not read that article, and B, don't really follow anything to do with the Flash, so I don't know what you're talking about. And we'll see if I get surprised or not next
Okay.
week. All right.
Right.
On that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Will M Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at Scene and Nerd. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and visit our website, www.sceneandnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you hear podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.